All right, welcome everybody to yet another episode. Even though it says Circle of the Earth Fellowship, this is more of uh, a Mrs. Vader thing. And so, welcome, guys. We're excited to join y'all today. Hope y'all are excited to hear these stories that we got for you. I can go ahead and take these off. Don't need them anymore. Got the show running. So, hello, everybody. Hello, hello. Shalom to y'all all. I hope your week has been started off great with a good sleep last night. So, yeah. So, today, get off your phone, woman.
I was just trying to get into the live chat. Shalom, all.
So, yeah. As you kind of saw from the thumbnail, we have four beautiful children. And we're going to go through each one of those birth stories, starting from the first all the way down to the last. And we're super stoked because there's, like the description says, each of these adventures has its own unique obstacles, but also sweet victories in them. And so we're excited to talk about this and get it into y'all with all. So, yeah.
Are you ready to start?
Yeah, so we got married, and about 2 years after we got married, we decided, hey, you know what? We're not going to not try, and so that kind of what was the start. What's up, babe?
You always get the math wrong. So we got married in September, and then we found out that we were pregnant. Like within 6 months, we were like, well, we're not gonna not try. And then in May, we found out that I was pregnant.
Okay, so
So from September to May, so like 9
months.
Yeah, something
Okay,
like that.
interesting. So yeah, we decided not to not try, and we got informed that we were pregnant with our first. So you want to kind of take it and from your aspect?
Yeah, I thought that I was gonna be a girl mom. We had talked like when we were engaged, when we were dating, courting, what have you, and we were like, we're gonna have 4 babies. I wanted 4, he wanted 4, and then I was like, it's 4 girls. We're having 4 girls, and he was like, we're having all boys. Don't you know my genes? Because he's got 2 brothers, so they've got 3 boys and 1 girl, and my family is just girls. And so he thought, he was like, you were pregnant with a boy, this is a boy. We go in, we find out the sex of our baby.
Well, let's stop, because I so much so that we bought blue Vans, like one of our first gender reveal photo was blue Vans. So we bought blue Vans, but I actually ended up having to go and do some photoshopping and change them to pink. That's how much I knew it was a boy. I was like, we can buy these shoes and rest assured that it will be a boy.
And yes, and so the woman who tells us the sex of our baby, she's like, it's a girl. And he was like, she's wrong. She doesn't know what she's talking about. It's a boy.
It's too early to tell. It's too early to tell. He could have a small one. You know, you never know.
So then, so we do the gender reveal photos and blue Vans. So he has to go in, fix every single one. Pink, she is in fact a girl. But if we speed up the story, we're in the delivery room, and he's still like, it's a boy. It's a boy. It's not a girl. Like whispering in my ear, these are the names I think that we should name him when he comes out being a boy. And at that point, I was ready to just sock him one, because I was like, this is a girl. Like,
get over
I'm having
it.
her. You've got to accept it. And she did, in fact, come out to be a girl. So let's back up. So during the pregnancy,
because we had talked about it. We had talked about how we were doing it, because kind of back up a little bit more, coming into our relationship, into us eventually getting engaged, I've always been a conspiratorial type of person, and so I introduced to her a whole bunch of different ideas and subjects that she, in her kind of innocent mind, had never learned about or had never thought about. And so I, before even going into it to even decide having children, I was very anti-jab. I had done that research. I was like, we're not going down this path. And we had even talked about previously of having natural birth. And kind of that was the game plan, heading into the third trimester. And that was literally the game plan all the way up into the day that you started leaking. So talk about that for a second.
So at the time of our first pregnancy, we didn't have babies yet, so I worked, and I worked in retail, and I was walking like miles a day, miles and miles a day. And so I had started, I'm sorry for the man viewers, I had started to leak, and I didn't know. I had no idea. I'd never been pregnant before. And so I thought, embarrassingly, I was like, I just peed my pants. I thought I had wet myself. And then I was talking to his mom, and she was like, oh, that happens. The baby's just so heavy. The baby's low. You're close to your time. You wet yourself. Don't be embarrassed. But I had, in fact, not wet myself, thank you very much, to my credit. I was leaking fluid, and I had done this for 2 weeks before contractions started, and I didn't know what that had meant, because my OB had decided shortly after I got pregnant that he wasn't going to deliver babies anymore. And so I was just kind of stranded without a doctor. I wasn't going to anybody in the third trimester. And again, I had never been pregnant. Like we were winging it. Yeah. We didn't know anything. And so the day that I went into labor, I was at work, and I was like, "Hey, boss."
Well, you didn't actually go into labor. So what happened is we had talked to the doctor, we had talked to people, and it basically we were like, hey, you might be leaking amniotic fluid, so you need to actually go in just to make sure that you, like, okay, it sounds like you're peeing, but maybe you're not, maybe you're leaking. So one of those evenings, we had gone to the hospital, and we had basically told them the same thing, like, hey, I'm not sure if I'm peeing or if this is amniotic fluid, I need you to look. And so sure enough, they do an exam.
They admit me immediately.
Yep, they admit you, and they're like, okay, yep, indeed, you are leaking amniotic fluid. This has been for a while, so we're going to need to go ahead and induce you.
They were nervous about the baby's safety.
Of being infection.
I've learned a lot since then. I did not need to be at the hospital. Like, my contractions were just so far apart.
Mm-hmm.
And so now I know that you really don't need to go unless they're, well, I waited too.
We'll get to that story.
So they admit me, they take me back, and they're like, hey, we're worried about infection. We're going to give you Pitocin, which it is used to induce pregnancy. It's going to speed up the process so that we can get this baby out of you in a timely manner safely. Well, it had the opposite effect, so it slowed everything down. And they were like, hey, so we went in and we were like, we want to do this naturally. I don't want an epidural.
That was the game plan going in, and so obviously when we went in there and they're like, okay, we have to give this Pitocin, like, it was actually really interesting because we're like, whoa, what is this Pitocin? What is it going to do? And they basically explained that she explained that it's going to help speed up the labor process. But from the gate, she was like, I don't want an epidural. That is not in my, birth plan. We are going to do this as natural as possible. Well, me and Francesca, we got a baby joining us. Just our baby boy. Gonna get him set up with some fruit snacks, but
It's okay.
So in that whole process of us, hey, we want to do this naturally, no epidural. Well, I remember where I was at. So we look pretty young for our ages, and even so more back then. We were very baby-faced people. This was before a beard. One of the reasons why I grew a beard is so I don't look so young. And so we had talked So that kind of gives the background of what we went through. So go ahead, babe.
Okay, so with the Pitocin, they were like, oh, because we gave you Pitocin, you have to have an epidural. Because this is going to speed up the process, your pain is going to be so immense, basically, that you're not going to be able to do this without an epidural. And they were like, you do not have an option. You're getting the epidural whether you want it or not.
And to kind of talk about that, us being so young, it was kind of an awkward situation. At one point, when was that in the stay that they asked you about the ring? Do you remember that?
I was really drugged up.
Yeah, I know. So it was after the epidural.
Yeah, everything from there.
Okay. So what I basically am trying to talk about it is, because we look so young, they literally treated us as a, like sneaky couple or something like that. And asking her medical questions only when I wasn't there. And they would, she's going to go help baby boy for a second. So in the process, they anytime I would leave, I'd go meet someone at the door to bring them to the room. I'd go to get her food. I would go to get her something. I'd go home to let the dog out and then come back. Any of those times, that is when the doctors would take the opportunity to go and ask Francesca, hey, these medical questions, what do you want to do? What do you want to do? And also within those times, they would, ask her questions like, is that a real ring? Are y'all really married? How old are you really? And it was this super awkward, invasive kind of situation where, like, this is our first time dealing with this. This is our first time having a child. And so we were, kind of in the dark. And something I kind of wanted to talk about before is like, yeah, we had agreed on the no jabs. We had agreed on the natural birth, and of course that did a little shift there at the end when, within the first pregnancy. And, oh, there she is. And so, I kind of lost where my train of thought is. But so anyways.
So we're a young 16-year-old couple doing crack, having babies.
Yeah, that's literally how they treated us. And so it was such an awkward situation for me being, her husband and her being my wife, and them playing this game as opposed to just coming up to us and being like, hey, like kind of getting it out front. And so that was obviously horrible in the situation.
So okay, I don't even take like Tylenol. I don't take pain medication for pretty much anything. They say redheads have like a high pain tolerance or what have you. I don't know how true that is. But so the fact that they put me on so much medication to have our daughter, I was completely like, it's blank for me. Like after they gave me the epidural, I was so out of it.
Like in and out.
In and out. And then once I had her, they basically like laid her on my chest for 2.5 seconds. Then they took her off of me and they took her to the NICU. Well,
so she actually wasn't breathing right when she came out.
She had so she, and I don't know if it has to do with the drugs or not, but they said that she wasn't breathing correctly.
So they literally put her on your chest, they picked her up, and I'm like kind of standing in between the bed and the little incubator. And they move her over and she wasn't breathing, and they start working on her, and then boom, she gets a breath, and then not even 5 seconds later, they wheel her out and they take her to the NICU. So she didn't even get to
be a mom.
Be a mom. She literally, and even if let's say she didn't have breathing problems, she was so in and out of it that she wouldn't even have really remembered. Like right now, she doesn't really remember the experience itself.
And they told me, they were like, we're going to test your daughter for drugs. And
yeah.
Because they thought that, and so the doctor that
Well, we'll save that to the end.
Okay, well, the doctor, we won't say the doctor's name. The doctor that delivered the baby was like, he was like, or afterwards, sorry, my mind really is jumbled on the first baby, you guys. Okay, So after I had her, the doctor came in the room, and he was like, hey, I just want you to know my first priority is to get you on birth control immediately. What are you, like 17 or 18? And I was like, I think I was 23.
Yeah.
About to be 24. And I was like, oh, I'm about to be 24. And he was like, oh. And we never saw him again. Ever.
Nope.
He never came back to the room.
He dipped out.
And then it was extra horrible because after I had her, Zach was like back and forth between the hospital and getting the house ready. And so a lot of the time, I was alone. So they kept her in NICU for days. And they would bring her to me and take her away and bring her to me and take her away. And so
because one of our plans for her was to do it natural, to breastfeed her.
Mm-hmm.
And so during those times that they brought her to mom, she, because of that time difference, she wouldn't suckle. She would only take it from a bottle.
She would only take a bottle, yeah.
Yep. And so so that was like another place where our plan didn't, go to didn't pan out the way we had wanted it to. And I want to step back because, okay, the baby's already out, but let's talk about before the baby's out. So I know you're a little wish-washy in this, like in it because of the drugs they gave you, but I'm sure you remember at a certain point the doctors come in with a group of other doctors, and he's basically checking what her the size of her cervix, and we learn that, or basically what that doctor says is, hey guys, she's not changing at all. In about an hour, if she's not ready, then we're going to have to do a cesarean section. And at that point, Francesca, for all better terms, not here, she lost it. She started crying.
Not in the room with the doctor.
Yeah, like as soon as the doctor left, she broke down, and she was so scared. And as a lot of people know, United States in particular has an epidemic of cesarean sections. There are there are ones out there that are elected, but a lot of the times these emergencies happen and they just have to make $15,000 more for you. Though that wasn't really my thought during the process. My thought is, my wife is here giving birth, to about to give birth to my child, and she is scared. She is crying. She is in such fear. And it literally just came to me, and we sat there and prayed, I even kind of remembered, I was like, Father, you see your daughter, you see my wife. I'm asking that you would, open up her womb, that you would send your angels down, that you would use your power, Father, to do whatever you have to do, Father, that you would open it. And, talking to her and saying, babe, you can feel it. You can feel them here. You can feel that opening. You know that he's not going to leave you in this, so do not be afraid. It's going to be okay.
Mm-hmm.
And
he laid hands over me, and he just prayed for me for like 45 minutes straight.
Yeah, and so I remember it was 45 minutes because the doctor came in, and I looked at the time, and he had specifically said, in 1 hour, we're going to come back. If she's not ready, we have to take her into the operating room. Mm-hmm. And so I remember him coming in. I'm like, you didn't even give it the last 15 minutes? Like, it really made me feel like he was hunting for that C-section as opposed to doctorly discretion, saying this is the best option, type of deal. But so 45 minutes later, him and his whole crew come in, and they're literally prepped and ready. They're like coming to, like, they
left and went and got ready.
Yeah, like they left, got ready, came back as if they were gonna have to do this cesarean section. And it was, there was totally a double look. He literally checked her and was all ready to leave. And then he was like, he looked and he was like, oh my God, she is full. Like, we're ready to go. Let's do it right. Fully dilated. So in 45 minutes, guys, she went from a 4 to a 10.
To have the baby.
To have a baby. And that was 100% the Father showing up in his power.
It was a miracle.
It was 100% a miracle. And So the baby's delivered, those complications, go to the NICU. And I was actually the first to visit her, and we got this picture. I should, you want to go grab it?
No.
Okay.
I'm going to go get it.
So she's going to go grab it. So, I got to go visit her in the NICU, and, for those who don't have children and have a desire to have children, at some point in their lives, I can say that feeling of looking at, kissing, touching, not only your own flesh and blood, but half you and half, your partner, is such an incredible feeling. So, you're going too far back, and you got to kind of tilt it a little bit. Oh, gosh dang.
What a great picture.
There we go. So that is my daughter grabbing my finger. I was just sitting there with my hands. I was kind of resting my hands around there, and she literally reached up and grabbed my finger, and and I just snapped a picture of it, because it, like, my heart literally stopped at those points. So
Okay, so after I had her and they took her away, they had literally pumped me with so much medication that I seized. Did you tell that part?
No, I didn't.
Oh. So the nurse comes in to check on me, and she leaves. And then my mother-in-law comes into the room, and I'm in the bed just, like, totally just starting to seize. And so she freaks out. She's like, "Nurse, nurse!" And the nurse runs back in. And she's like, "I swear she wasn't seizing a minute ago. She wasn't seizing." And so then they shot me with what?
Magnesium.
More medication. Actually, magnesium's not bad. But
Yeah.
they gave me anti-seizure medication to stop the seizing. But that was crazy, because you just feel like this total loss of... A lot of times after you have a baby, you tend to, like, shake. You have the shivers. And it's like your body's
your shivers
job,
went all the way to seizing.
They surpassed what they were supposed to be doing, and I started to seize. So now she's in the NICU, and when they bring her to me, and Zach is, like, at home getting the house ready, they're like, "Oh, you have to be awake if you have your child." So they would come in there every 2 hours, and they would be like, "Hey, are you awake? Are you awake?" Like, all throughout the night. And so I was, like, sleep deprived, and my body had ended up, sorry guy, don't Google it if you don't know what it is, but I had ended up getting mastitis because I couldn't feed her from my body.
Because she wouldn't suckle.
Because she would only take a bottle. I had to leave the hospital. I had to leave her in NICU. I had to go to another doctor. I had to get treated for my mastitis, and then I had to come back. And the staff turned off the heat to my room. So they dismissed me 24 hours before they let her leave. And so because they were like, "You can stay because your daughter's
but you
still
don't
in
have
the
a
hospital."
room.
But technically, like, this isn't, we're just doing this as a courtesy, and they turned the heat off to my room. So it was just really uncomfortable and really miserable. What I will say, though, is, like, no judgment for women who get the Pitocin or the epidurals. This story is more about, like, the hospital just not at all honoring what we wanted, doing the opposite, not giving us the big picture. Us in that situation being, like, way too naive to know better. And for instance, I have family, they have done epidurals, they're like, "This is the greatest thing that has ever happened to me. I couldn't imagine doing it any other way. I would never do it naturally. Epidural is the way to go." And I'm glad that women have that experience. What I will say is that in the beginning, Zachariah tried to talk me into doing it not in a hospital. He was like, "We'll get a midwife, we'll do a water birth, blah, blah." And in fear, I was completely walking in fear. And I was not having any trust or faith in the Father, because that walk didn't start until later. It came after my daughter's birth. And so I was like, "No way, that's not how these things are done. Let's do the hospital."
What if something happens, and, and so we understand the point of emergency, right? And and as much as I wanted her to do it naturally at home, I also respect her as a mother and as a woman to make her own decisions. And so I was going to support her in any of those decisions. And so to just kind of scale back, for me, it was a horrible experience, because, like I was explaining, they would not talk to me about her whatsoever. They wouldn't tell me how she's doing. When she seized, I'm like, "Why is she seizing?" They wouldn't answer me. They anytime they had like legal questions about the jabs or any of the other, quote unquote care that they do for infants, they wouldn't involve me in it. And like at times, like she would, like, our plan is none of that, no jabs. But then she would come to me after they had came to her after I wasn't there and say, "Oh, babe, I think we should do this thing," because they were in her ear while she was drugged up, basically, scaring her into, trying to make some of these decisions. Thankfully, I got to block a lot of those things. And go ahead.
We had asked for inserts. I don't know if you've ever been in the hospital and they're like, get a jab, and you're like, bring me the inserts. They do not want to bring you the inserts because it's filled with malarkey.
Yeah.
It's straight up poison, nasty, nasty stuff. And so they finally brought us the inserts. And after reading them, that's like, my research really didn't begin until Jocelyn was born.
Yeah.
And reading those inserts for the first time, I was like, oh, this is why he doesn't want her to have all of that stuff. And so... And they knew once we read those inserts, they were like, there's no way they're going to give this to their baby after reading that. So they didn't push it after we got the inserts. We were like, no, we read what's in them. This is not for us. Yeah. And they didn't push it again. But they were absolutely horrible. That's for sure.
Absolutely. So, so one more thing I want to talk about is obviously the first birth is a hard one, right? Because of how all those mechanics, right? It's the first time her pelvis had to disfuse in order for her to, give birth to the child. And so we understand complications and things come along with that. That's again why we're not throwing stones for those who want to do it at a hospital or need to go to a hospital. We completely understand. But one thing I will say, the cool part of this, I think, is like the silver lining, minus obviously us having our beautiful daughter, Jocelyn. And this is her. Real quick, I'm going to move this. This is our beautiful daughter over here.
Girl.
Yep, she's our only girl. Her name is Jocelyn. It means joyous, and her middle name is Voss, which is fox, so it's our little joyous fox.
Voss, Voss.
Mm-hmm.
Jocelyn Voss.
So, she was the first one to make us parents, and we like to tell her that. We like to say, do you know, before Jocelyn, mommy and daddy weren't mommy and daddy? And she thinks that's really cool that she it's like she feels honored to where we feel honored that she's our daughter, that the father gave us such a beautiful little girl. She feels honored in making us parents, so she thinks that's pretty cool, and we do too.
She came to me yesterday, and our firstborn son had said to her, he said yesterday, he goes, I should have been the firstborn. It should have been me. And I told her, I said, you go tell him that obviously that wasn't y'all's plan, or he would have been the firstborn. That that's your rightful place. And she was like, I am going to tell him that.
So yeah, that was our first birth. I remember that this is what I wanted to add. So there's things that have to happen with that first birth that, may not happen later. That being said, she had to go through some healing through that process. Well, when we made our way home, we got speed bumps, we got, dips in the road. And I vividly remember her just crying kind of out in pain. It's like, babe, I can only go so slow. But all that movement and jiving, was not in any way comfortable to her. And then so the silver lining of this is like the one thing that I'm like, oh, that's cool. Is her maiden name is Smith. My last name is Jones. The first doctor to be a part of the pregnancy was Dr. Smith, but the baby was actually delivered by Dr. Jones. Yeah, no, those are two common names. I get that, but at the same time,
there's probably 900 Smiths and Jones in there.
Yeah, but how many of those are doctors?
No,
you know what I mean?
So
and the
great.
order and the time we went in, I love syncs like that. It really shows you that the father shows up, even in those kind of situations.
Even when you're not trusting him.
Yeah.
And you got no faith, and you're all drugged up, and you don't know what's going on. He's there with his hand in it, making sure that everything works out.
Yep.
And I'm way better at telling the second story because I was not on drugs. I remember our second birth. So, and you know what? We just told the story of Jocelyn. She is not even our craziest birth, okay? We're getting to our craziest birth right now. But as I said before, I thought we were having 4 girls, okay? So we get pregnant with baby number 2, and you guys, this wasn't like, we were like, okay, we're not going to try anymore. We're going to, like, we'll see what the Father does. If he blesses us with a baby, great. If it's a year from now, no big deal. I was like, we have to have another baby. I had baby fever. I was like, let's have a baby. And he was like, okay, soon.
So Zaverick was the first one where we're like, okay, we're trying. We're not trying, like we're trying.
Well, he was like, we're gonna start trying soon.
Soon, yeah.
Within 30 days. I was like, guess what? We're pregnant. So he was like, in a couple months. And I was like, too late. It's already happened.
Yeah, I was like, let's wait to the new year. And she's like, oh, well, I'm already pregnant, so you better be ready now.
Hi, Tyler. You can't. He's in a diaper. Hold on, guys. Don't start this one without me.
I won't. So I'll give a little breakdown. This guy right here, which is, oh, I know, buddy. So this guy right here, I don't know if y'all can see my mouse, but right next to my picture, right to the corner, that is Zeverick Evan. So Zeverick is, we kind of Americanized it, but it's actually Hebrew. It's Sifarak. And Sifarak is, I guess, the Hebrew equivalent of the German Wolfgang. Now, the reason why I wanted to name him Wolfgang is that my father passed away in 2006. And he actually, unfortunately, never got to meet any of my children. But so I wanted a way of honoring him. Well, for those that don't know, my name is Zachariah, and but my dad wanted to actually name me Wolfgang. And my mom was like, you can choose any other name, but that name, I can't do Wolfgang. And so I got the name Zachariah. And so growing up my whole life, and I actually connected with my son, just realized this the other day, unironically, and I'll tuck down in a second. But anyways, I wanted to name my son, Wolfgang. But at the same time, I always had a desire for my eldest son to have my initials. And so it just so happened that I looked up how do you spell wolf in, what's the word for wolf in Hebrew? And sure enough, it's Zev, Z-E-V in ours. And then I can't remember it off the top of my head in their language.
They just say it as Zev.
Yeah. So, and then Arak means path. And so we got to create this name. And that thing I was saying that was so cool is my nickname from my father growing up was Wolfie. And so our son now, his name is Zeverick, but in short we call him Zevi, which is actually saying Wolfie. And I just think that's so cool. But all right, babe.
Hunter said you can give yourself a break from not being trusting because drugs block you off from Yah. I didn't even think about that.
That's
low
so
vibration,
true.
bro.
Yeah, they totally change your state of mind and your vibratory energy that you're giving off. Yeah, definitely.
So is Everett.
So let's real quick before we get to that part.
Oh, you have the live chat.
Yeah.
I've never been on here before, you guys.
Yeah,
I
not
didn't know
in this
it was
manner.
right there.
So we already pretty much well established Zeverick's name before his birth, and so it's Zeverick Evan, which is Wolf Path, Mighty Man of God, and so he has my initials, and he also has the Wolf Path.
Was very against naming our children after other people because I wanted them to have their own identity. Yeah. I didn't want them to feel like they had to be like someone else or that they had to have a connection with somebody that they weren't close with just because they were that person's namesake.
Yeah, and we were very much into names. Like my name's Zachariah. This is Francesca. We didn't really feel like we could get
Bob.
away with Mary and John and Sue. We wanted to be unique and individualistic with each one of them, and I'm very happy and proud of the names that we were given to give our children. So, but anyways, from what we had learned with the hospital, Francesca
Did a 180.
was a 180. So we actually did, guys, like unironically, again, we went from one extreme to the other extreme in our first two births. So first, super safe at the hospital with the experience that we all just explained, and kind of the obstacles that we had to deal with. So our next decision, or I guess her decision, was, hey, we're going to do a birthing center. So we're not going to do it at home. We're not going to do it at a hospital. We're going to do it with midwives, but we're going to do it at a center. So we're going to go to a hospital-like place and do a natural birth there. And so, 1 second, baby. And so we looked into that, and we had from our then sister-in-law learned about this place that she had planned to use for her pregnancies. Or was
She did.
McKaylin?
No, Hazley was born there.
But that's after Jocelyn.
No, she had Hazley in the
Yeah, and then we decided there. Okay, yeah. So because she had my niece there, we were like, okay, we're gonna do it there too. So I'm gonna give you a second to kind of paint the story. I'll be right back.
Okay, so with this gender reveal, finding
Center
out,
up, baby.
huh?
Center up in this.
Oh, so with this gender reveal, so my at the time sister-in-law Susan, my bestie, she found out the gender. She went with me, and she's the one who knew the gender. So Zachariah and we didn't know, and so her and my sister-in-law, Jenna, they planned the gender reveal party at our house, and so they have it on camera, and we have that video somewhere. But basically, we're standing there, and they're counting down, and we're popping balloons with the confetti that comes out to find out, is it a boy or a girl? And this pregnancy was so different than Jocelyn. Jocelyn, all of my babies spent all of their time in my upper rib cage, just kicking the business out of me all the time. But with this one, like, just the nausea and the symptoms and the cravings, they were so different. With Jocelyn, I had craved, my cravings were, cream cheese bagels with sliced strawberries and drizzled honey, and then I went through a huge craving of salsa. Like, I just had to have salsa for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And when I was pregnant with Zevi, I craved sour stuff all the time. I wanted blue raspberry ices and sour candy, which is not me. Those are not things that I would choose to eat on like a regular basis, but I had to have sour. And like the nausea, instead of it being like morning sickness, it was at night. And I never got sick, like I never threw up.
Speak up, baby.
I never threw up, but I would sit there on the couch at night and be like, babe, go get me a blue raspberry icy, I don't feel good, every night before I went to bed. And so it shouldn't have come as a big shock that he was like a boy, because everything was so different. But so we popped the balloons, and he popped his, boop, it popped. I wasn't looking at his, and mine didn't pop right away. So I'm like standing there, and I'm trying to pop it, and it comes out blue. And I like just look at everybody in the room, and my jaw drops. I was like, just on video, completely confused. And the whole family is in the room, and they're jumping up and down, and they're clapping, and they're like, woohoo! So his side of the family hadn't had a boy in 18 years. So Zeverick was the first boy baby in 18 years. So they were beyond ecstatic for another boy baby. So every single one of his siblings had a girl first. And all of the girls are something Lynn. So we didn't plan that. Jocelyn was literally the only name that we could agree on.
Yeah.
He wanted
Aurora
Ray. And I was like, she will not be able to say her name until she's in the 3rd grade. So I thought, beautiful name. but she's not going to be able to pronounce it to anybody. And I don't even want to talk about what I wanted.
She wanted Loxley, which is a name that she's wanted ever since. And
we'll get to that.
We'll get to that.
In the fourth baby story, we'll get to that. I'm not bitter. I'm fine. And so I'm just sitting there completely dumbfounded in this video. Like, you rewatch this video and I'm just like, and I was like, should we do it again?
Do you have that video on your phone?
No.
It'd be cool. We could bring it over to Discord and share it. But anyways.
Maybe I could probably find it in my email later. But okay, so we find out that he is a boy, and that's very exciting. Should we go into the night of?
Yeah, let's skip there. So
Okay.
She has a normal pregnancy, first trimester, second trimester, third. One thing I do want to bring up before we go there the night of is we had a midwife throughout the entire thing.
Mm-hmm.
Did you already tell that?
No, so
Go ahead.
I had the same midwife, like, for all of our appointments, saw the same woman, I'm not going to say her name. And then the day that I went into labor, she went on vacation.
Yeah, so...
And so we go to these meetings multiple times a week to, like, get us ready for the experience.
To learn.
So they educate you throughout this whole process. We didn't have that the first time. So so they had us
I jumped back because there's another blessing in the first one that I really wanted to bring up. Is we were she had been working, I had been working, but I had right before Jocelyn was born, I had been laid off from my job, and
right
so we were right before, so we were kind of in this weird place, and so we didn't have insurance anymore, and so we had been waiting basically after the birth of Jocelyn to get that bill, so we knew what we were looking at and how we were gonna pay it. But we get this letter in the mail, like, all blessings to y'all, that's like, hey, some anonymous person saw that y'all had a child and paid for y'all's whole hospital visit. So we didn't actually pay a single dollar for that.
No, nothing.
It was quite like, one thing about our daughter, she was born on January 1st. She was actually the sixth baby born in all of Texas on that day, and the sixth baby born for that year, for the whole of Texas. Go ahead.
I don't even know what time I had her. Do you know? I think it was like in the daytime, right? It was like noon.
No, it was morning.
Because I went in around...
At night, and then there was... No, it must have been evening.
I had her in the evening?
Yeah.
Gosh, I was in labor forever.
Yeah, well, definitely felt like that, all drugged up. So, but anyways, so I just wanted to point out, like, yeah, from nowhere, someone just like, hey, we're going to pay for all your medical bills in there. And we didn't know the person. We never knew the person. We never got to know why they selected us or anything. But so, yeah. So, okay, we're like, hey, we're going to do this differently. And like I had said, my dad had passed on, and so I had gotten my inheritance. And with my inheritance, we actually prepaid the $5,000 for the birthing center. So like normal visits to a hospital and birthing is around $10,000. It's about $5,000 through a birth center, at least when we had Zevrick. And so so we had prepaid for it, and so we're like, hey, we paid for this, so we went to all the classes, we went to all the teachings and things that we could get into, and so okay, boom, we're up to the day of, babe.
Wait, okay, so right before like our due date, they had us write our biggest fear on a piece of paper and then put it in a bucket, and my biggest fear that I wrote on this paper, I was like, I am so terrified that you're not going to be there to deliver this baby when it's time to have this baby. And my fear was more of like, somebody else is going to go into birth at the same time and you're going to be preoccupied with them. It's like a 3-person staff. You guys won't be there for me. And they were like, Francesca, that's never going to happen. We would figure it out. There's no way. We don't take birth dates. Like, if somebody is due at the same time as you, we don't take them. Because we're such a small establishment. And so I was like, okay, so I put it in this bucket. I was like, no, I'm not going to be afraid of that anymore. And then the night of. So my midwife, I'm talking to her throughout the day. I'm like, I think that this could be it. She was like, you're definitely in labor. It's not time to come in yet. However, I leave for Washington in a few hours. So we're going to switch you over to another midwife that you're not familiar with. And so I call this midwife. at night, and I'm like, hey, so my midwife told me that she would let you know that I'm in labor. I think it's time to come in. We live like an hour away.
At least, yeah.
So when we set up with this midwife, we lived in another town, and then we got blessed with the home that we live in, and so we moved an hour away, kept the same midwife. We were like, we've got this, we'll make that drive, we'll have plenty of time. So I call her and I'm like, hey, I think I'm in labor. And she was like asking me stuff about my contractions and what have you, and I was like, they're like 7 minutes apart. And she was like, there's no way you're in the amount of pain that you would be in if you were in labor. Go take a nap.
Go watch a movie.
Go take a nap.
She said go watch a movie and lay down.
So I was like, ma'am, I don't think you're grasping the full situation. I cannot go to sleep right now. And she was like, Francesca, you're talking way too normally. You've got your thoughts about you. Like, you're not in labor. Go watch a movie. And I was like, actually starting to get really sad, because she made me feel like my experience was not my experience, that I was wrong, that I wasn't really experiencing what I in fact was experiencing. So I was like, okay. Meanwhile, I am
go ahead.
texting his sister, and she was like, how are you feeling? And this was the tipping point. So she was like, how are you feeling? And I said, well, I feel okay. I feel pretty calm, but if Zachariah talks to me one more time, I'm gonna punch him in the face. So she gets a hold of her brother. She's like, listen, Francesca has no idea, and don't say anything because we don't want to freak her out, but she is in labor and you need to go right now. And so previously to that, I was like, oh, you know what? I'm in labor. I'm going to go to the store. I want to make sure that my legs are shaved. So I head on over to Walgreens, and I'm shopping in the aisles, and then I stop the cart, and I have a contraction. And then I'm shopping for my shaving cream, and I stop the cart, and I have a contraction. I go home. I'm in the bathroom. I'm shaving my legs. I'm like, I'm going to look good, and then that's when I got out of the bath, and then that's when I called the midwife. Like, I'm draped in a towel, and I'm like, I need to come now. And she was like, take a nap. And so I get off the phone with her. I hang up. His sister has called him, like, you got to go right now. The baby drops immediately from hanging up the phone. The baby drops. There is blood all over the bathroom floor. I hope that paints a pretty picture for everyone. And so Z comes in there. He's like, hey, my sister says, and we gotta go.
Okay, let's stop this real quick. So
it's about to get intense.
So right, I'm like, okay, I knew what we had gone through before. I'm gonna be ready this time. And so I had taken the time. I had got the car ready, made sure it had the car seat and, snacks and all the stuff that we needed for the baby and for mama. And I was very, very, very prepared. And, but, kind of remembering back a little bit, I had recently had trouble with that vehicle. I had flipped one of my belts ripped and then hit my radiator, and then I had overheating, so I had to replace it. And so, like, thinking of that perspective, I was like, I don't want to chance something happening on the way there. So I ended up, because of kind of the issue, not the issues, but so let me take a step back. She was being incredibly insane, and obviously she's in labor. She's going through these pains. She's experiencing things that she's never experienced before, because the last one was so different from the path we had chosen this time. And so
I honestly thought that labor was I thought it was going to be so much more painful than it was doing it naturally. So I didn't know what to expect. I didn't know where the pain tolerance should be to know, hey, you're about to have a
where
baby.
You are. Like that, basically her first whole experience wasn't an experience. So she didn't know what to expect. And so as she's going through this, she's going through.
I was like, I've got this.
She's like she's swinging modes and she's very bipolar in that instance. She's lethargic. She's mad. She's happy. She's angry. Like, she's literally going crazy everywhere. And she's looking for things that she doesn't need.
We can be transparent about this. So he comes in there and he's like, we've got to go. Get your bag. And I was like, my bag's not ready. And he was like, what do you need? So I was like, no, I have to clean up this mess. There's blood on the floor. And he was like, clean up the mess. Get in the car. And so he puts our daughter in the back seat. He's like, I've got everything loaded. He was like, what do you need?
Well, real quick, because I had, at that midpoint, I had switched all the cars. I had taken all the stuff out of the car that had the problem and put it all into her car, so that I was like, oh, for sure we won't have a problem. This car is running good. And so anyways, so we're going through this, even to a point where she gets so angry at me for me, like, come on, we gotta go, we gotta leave. She got so angry that she shut the door. And no joke, guys, it wasn't like trying to hurt her or anything. It was like I was
in protection mode.
Dude, and my adrenaline was pumping.
He was like, I'm going to do what I have to do to get you there.
Because the phone call that she was talking about, my sister had called me and she was like, I know that she's being crazy right now, but she lost her plug. It is time, y'all. Like, you were way past you needing to leave.
I just didn't know, okay? A mountain mama, 12 babies with a midwife.
Nice.
Blessings to you, sister.
Yeah,
that is amazing.
That is
Superwoman.
so amazing.
So he's like, okay, so he's banging on he's like, let's
banging
go!
On the door, and then the banging, guys, I started kicking down the door.
There's a crack in our bathroom door, like where it shuts, not like the front or the back, but
like
the side.
Here's the bolt. It's like right in between the bolt, because I was like, boom, boom, we gotta go.
And then I start taking I'm throwing my hairbrush at him.
Well, finally she opens the door and she's mad and she's throwing stuff at me, and literally I'm sitting there like picking them. I'm picking up all the stuff she's throwing, putting it back in the bag, running it out too. And so finally I convince her, okay, it's time to go, and we get in the car. And guys, I'm hauling butt, obviously very unsafe, but my adrenaline's pumping. I am cruising.
We hadn't even made it to the highway, and he was like, do I need to call 911? And I was like, I don't know.
So I end up calling 911. I'm on the phone with them. I'm racing down the road, and I basically explained, okay, we're on this. We're hit this mile marker. We're headed towards this the birthing center.
So
she starts. She grabs the.
No, not starts. It wasn't like. It didn't keep going, but I grabbed the spit handle at the top, and I went. Ah! And he was like, oh.
Why did that do that?
I don't know why.
Sorry, guys.
It's behind. Okay. You want it back up?
1 second, guys. All right, sorry about that, guys.
Okay, so I grabbed that and I screamed, and at that point he was like, okay, I'm going to call 911 now.
Yeah, so as soon as she screams, I'm like, oh my God. Like, literally, guys, I've never heard such a scream in my entire life.
I got pipes.
It freaked me out like you can't believe. So I'm on the phone with the dispatch, and I'm driving. And so she's another scream. Ah! And so I'm passing an exit, so I'm like, should I get off the exit? She's like, I don't know.
So 911 is like, sir, you need to pull over. You're about to deliver a baby.
No, so that's not the way it happens. So anyway, so I pull off the exit of like a very unused exit. I pull off the shoulder, into the rubble. And I'm on the phone with it, and he's like, all right, so I get out of my car, I go around to her side. She was wearing pajama pants, and they were a little above her knees at that point, because she was,
That's not.
Yeah, it was.
Anyways.
And so he's like, all right, tell me what you see. So I open her door. I take one of her.
He whips me to the side so that I'm like, my bottom half is like outside of the car.
Yeah. And he's like, what do you see? And I was like, I see the baby's head. And he goes, all right, Zachariah, I'm going to teach you how to deliver your son.
He didn't have to learn nothing.
She turns and he's like, and guys, you don't understand the dread that I'm feeling at this point, because it's like I'm in the middle of basically nowhere on an exit that there's no anyone around off the side of it, and it's like, this dude's telling me, here, I'm going to teach you how to deliver your son. So she pushes once, almost out, twice, like all but the feet. Third time, barely anything, and he's out. And dude, the
Just
most
boom,
slipperiest thing
out of
I've
the car.
ever tried to like hold in my life. I honestly believe that there was an angel there, like gripping, like making that happen, because it was like trying to catch an oiled pig. Why you would try to catch an oiled pig, I don't know.
And that's how Severick entered into this world.
Yep. And so as that happens, baby's good. Mama puts him up, gets him suckling. A state trooper shows up.
Wait, hold on.
Oh.
So while he's like, so I'm on the phone with the midwife. I text her after it drops. Yeah, baby.
So
All right.
So while he's on the phone with 911, like I text my midwife after it, the baby dropped in the bathroom, like moved into position, and I was like, hey, guess what? I really am having this baby. I hope to see you in about an hour at the center. Hope you can show up, because at that point,
She was angry, and she actually throws the phone.
While we're in the car, so she's on the phone with me, and he's on the phone with 911, and her voice was just grating on my nerves so much that I didn't say it. I just took the phone, and I threw it clear across into the trunk, so she's just back there like, just listening to everything that's happening.
So baby's delivered. He gets on the boob, and a state trooper shows up. I basically explained the situation. Hey, we're on the phone with our midwife. She says everything's fine to just head there.
We're really close.
Yeah. Well, no, we're still 30, 45 minutes away at that point. Yeah, at least 30. Okay. But anyways.
Endorphins.
And so me, guys,
So now that he's delivered the baby, he's literally speechless.
No, I'm like,
he's numb.
No, not yet. We'll get to that. So I'm freaking out, guys. I'm like, oh my god. And she's like, oh babe, it's fine.
I was like rubbing his back.
Slow down. No, it's okay. And I'm like, as I'm looking, and there's a baby laying on my, like naked. And so
I was just flying.
And so like, okay, we're in the clear, right? We just got to make it there. So we start heading back down the highway. And this night, for whatever reason, they had the southbound closed, and that was the way we needed to go. And so we were forced to go northbound. So, but once we get northbound, we got off at that next exit. We take a right. Excuse me. We get right back. We go over the bridge. We get right back. And as we're getting onto the highway, my car starts, and I'm like, what's going on?
But
and
it's my car.
It's her car. And I'm looking at, and I'm like, what's going on? I'm still in the stage of freaking out, and I realize I switched the cars.
I don't like to get gas.
She doesn't get gas.
Now.
Yeah.
Since then.
Yeah. Her gas was empty, and I had been hauling butt trying to get there.
I didn't know.
So sure enough, guys, we got off the exit. We got onto the highway. Baby's not in a, like it's on mom, and we run out of gas, and I was spiraling. But thankfully, shortly after that, a different state trooper shows up, and he's like, oh, congratulations. That's so awesome, guys. What a crazy situation. I'm going to remember this forever. And he's like,
us too.
Yeah. And so shortly after that first state trooper got there, a second state trooper showed up, and he showed up, and his demeanor, his vibe was completely different. He's like, all right, this is what's going to happen. Sir, talking to me, you're going to come with me. We're going to get in the car. We're going to drive to the store. You're going to buy a gas station. I'm going to take you to a gas can. I'm going to take you to a gas station. You're going to fill the gas. I'm going to take you back here. You can fill up the car, and you can be on your way. And my mind, what? Like, I have a, 1-year-old in my car. I have a newborn and my wife in the car. I'm like, God, dude, there's no way that I'm leaving here.
On the side of the road.
And leaving my wife and my 2 children on the side of the road to go get gas. And thankfully, the first state trooper's like, oh, dude, it doesn't even matter. I already got an incident truck coming. They'll be here shortly. So the incident truck gets there, fills up us with gas. We're good to go. We're about to hit the gas and take it out of park and head on our way. But then an ambulance shows up, and he rushes over. He rushes over to our car, and my wife again is sitting there breastfeeding our son, and he opens the door, gets in her face, and is starting to ask her questions, and bloody hand and all. She goes, excuse me, and pushes his head out the door. And as soon as she did that, his attitude went up to 11. He was like, what are you gonna do? You don't have a car seat. I'm like, what are you talking about? The car seat's right there.
Put him in the car seat. And umbilical cord.
No, that's not. Well, he goes, you don't have a car seat, and I'm like, yeah, the car seat's right there. And it's like, well, the child's not in the car seat. I'm like, dude, the umbilical cord, the placenta is still in the mother's belly. What do you want her to do? Squat over the car seat? Picture. And again, thankfully that first trooper. I didn't do that. Again, thankfully for that first trooper that had showed up, he had basically been like, man, no, they're fine. He was like trying to coax us into getting into the ambulance, and I at that time I was on the phone with our midwife saying, and she was like saying, no, you're totally fine. You're right down the road. You'll be here in just excuse me, in just 10 minutes. Excuse me, everyone. And so so just head to us, and that first trooper kind of intervened, and it's like, hey guys, leave him alone. But even guys, when the door was shut and we were ready to go, that medic pressed his body on our car so that as we drove away, he was like trying to get us to run over him.
In his defense though, we looked insane. Like, we had just delivered a baby on the side of the road. He was like, this is how you're starting off, like, parenting this child, and you won't go to an ambulance where, like, we can take care of you, and your baby and you can be safe. And we were like, nah, we got this. And we went to the midwife. And I was just, like, carrying the baby in, like...
So, okay, so we get there, and midwife and staff comes out. They grab baby, they grab mama, they take him inside.
And the elevator had broke. So we got to walk up 2 flights of stairs. But I was literally,
so happy. She had so much endorphins, or she was in a euphoric state for sure. And so me, completely opposite. As soon as baby and mommy secure, guys, my body shut down. I had so much adrenaline pumping through my veins. I could literally not move. Like, I laid in the grass outside. I could not move my lips. I could not move my hands. I could not stand up with my knees would go weak, and I'd literally go down to a knee. I could not move.
I like to keep him on his toes, I like to keep him guessing what's going to happen next.
Yeah. So we go inside, and
they're so respectful about what we want. I want to say that.
Yep.
Like, because we had a plan the whole time. This is the center that we had the plan with. There was no, like, you need to do this or you need to do that. We're going to take your baby. It was a completely 180 experience. But
from doing it literally all alone, or from, all these doctors telling us how and when and how we should do it, to literally us just having to go through it by ourselves. Mm-hmm. And so what a crazy experience it was. Like, I tell her, and I use this word hate lightly, guys. I don't mean it in its real word, but I tell her I hate and I love her for that experience, because I like how many men get to say that they, definitely in this day and age, get to say that they delivered their son.
You're welcome.
That
I totally
just the crazy story that we get to share people. But on the other side, like, I hate you because if something would have happened to him, if I would have dropped him, it would have been
all your fault.
I would have been like, I would have blamed myself. I would have blamed her. Like, who knows? Yeah, but obviously that didn't happen.
Don't even go there, bro.
So a couple things. One thing that made me mad about it is because we had done it all alone, and because of the situation that happened and the switching of midwives, I felt like we were entitled to a refund, at least a portion. Like, at least give us half of it back. Yeah,
what she did? Instead of giving us any money back, she said, "I'm really sorry that I told you not to come in. And I should have listened to you, and I should have respected that. And I just want you to know that I apologize." And I was like, it's a little too late.
Yeah, and so the cool thing is,
and then they sent us home at 5 a.m.
Yeah, we got in there, she got cleaned up, the baby.
They were like, "You're so good, like, you
can
got
leave.
This, you're great. You just go ahead and drive an hour back on home." Like, we didn't even get to sleep.
Yeah.
They gave us, like, a TV dinner.
Yeah.
Which actually at the time I was really thankful for.
So yeah, and what was I saying? Oh, the cool kind of thing is when that birthing center, they make little patches like for a quilt for each of the births that they do throughout the year. And so by the end of the year, they had this whole quilt with each of the names and dates of all the babies. And we thought that that was really cool. Ours was completely unique because it was literally a little red car fast vrooming. And so it was like, hey, at least I got a cool, not that we got it, but we got a cool patch for $5,000.
We got a cool story out of it.
Yeah, a cool story and a cool patch for $5,000.
That's a testimony.
Oh yeah. So what a crazy situation, and just crazy but different in from their first one.
Stacy said discount on the next baby. We did not use them again.
Yeah, so our next two, we are like, one, we're not going to do it an hour away. Two, we're not going to do the people that told us not to come when we should have come. And three, we learned about this other midwife within our local town.
Yeah, it's like a 5-minute drive. And so because of this experience with Zevrik, I was like, you know what? Maybe we can do this at home. Maybe the home thing is a good idea. So y'all used each one of these birthing experiences to get me a little closer to doing it how they used to do it.
Women have done it for thousands of years.
So we went through this local. This one is not like, okay, I want to preface this with our third child, also a boy. And again, I was like, I'm only going to have one boy. This third one, she's going to be a girl. She's going to be a girl. No. In fact, Zachariah really does produce boys. So Jet Kander Thomas Jones is a boy.
Jet is this little one. Y'all can't see my poker, but down here in that corner
with the jean vest,
that is Jet, and we named him after the mineral oid, a jet that the black stone, which many of our ancestors used as a stone to ward off evil spirits. And so we really like the name, we really like the meaning and kind of the idea behind it. But a little snippet for me. I have two brothers. I have a brother Jeremiah and a brother Christopher. So my oldest brother, his initials are JJJ, and my brother closest in age, his is CTJ. And so, because we're having boys, I'm getting sentimental. I'm thinking about my brothers. I'm thinking about my son, who has not my namesake, being named after me. And though, like she had stated before, she didn't want to do like a direct name.
He really wore me down with this
one. She was a little bit more accepted. She was more acceptive of if I did their initials. So Jet is Jet Jones. So JJ, like my oldest brother. And then his middle name is Kander Thomas. So CTJ. So he has both my oldest brother and my brother closest in age's initials.
Thomas. I forgot what I was gonna say.
Okay, so so Jet was our first. Zevrik and Jocelyn were our very obedient children. They're very clean and organized for the most part, right? They're still children.
When I found out that I was pregnant with Jet, Zachariah was in Washington. He wasn't here with me when I found out. I was like, probably not. No way. Like, we weren't like, let's do a third one right away. That's a good idea. No. He was very much like oh, okay, well, we can do this. So he walks through the door getting home from Washington, and I was like, guess what? And he goes, you're pregnant. And I was like, I had not hinted anything while he was in Washington or before. And I said, how did you know? And he said, on the way home, y'all told me that when I got home, you were going to give me the news that you were pregnant.
Yeah. So
we walked in the door. Guess what? You're pregnant. And I was baffled. Yeah. So that was really cool.
A cool kind of introduction into the story. So, again, with with Jet, we had like we had kind of talked about, we had found a local midwife. We had gone to the classes, we had gone to the appointments, and the whole process, getting her the vitamins she needs and getting her the sun she needs and all those different little parts. And each of those children are unique. Each mom is unique in their physiology and their chemical and all that stuff. And so we were going through all that process of keeping her healthy. And
this is the calmest story out of all 4 of them.
Well, even the last one it's just a little twist. But so, yeah, in reality,
Hunter says, then comes the wild one. Did you tell him, or is he guessing?
Yeah, so he actually is, it's a different midwife. We call him the bulldozer.
He is our wild
he's a tank, guys. He's a tank.
He's just a full-on,
One time we took him, I think it was a 4th of July thing, or I don't remember exactly, but it was with KBL. And
church.
we're at the park. We're all meeting up at the park for this feast. And we all walk up and we're saying hellos, and Jet's standing right next to me, and David looks down to Jet and it's like, hi, Jet. And Jet's like, hi. Wham! And hits him right in the family jewels. And he's, oh, God. So just to kind of explain, he's
very physical touch.
Yes, he's very physical touch. And it's interesting because he is our most disobedient child. So he gets a lot of discipline.
We disciple him much more
than the other children. But he's also the one who's always wants to be affectionate. Like, you're like, hugs, Jet, you want to cuddle? Jet, you want to kiss? Jet, you want to hug? Jet, you want to do anything?
And we call him Jet the Defender. So he will absolutely walk up to you and just sock you one right.
But if I try to grab Zevi to start playing with him, he'll try to rip Zevi away and help his brother.
Mm-hmm.
So
we've had situations where his heart was in the right place. He punched a neighborhood. He's 4, by the way. He's 4 years old. He punched the neighborhood kid, and they came and they told us, and they were like, Jet punched him, and we were like, Jet, explain yourself. Why would you do that? He was like, he was bullying Zevrik, who is the older brother. And we were like, well, if it's physical, you shouldn't get physical, though. If you have a problem, come and tell us. But also, good job on defending your older brother. So he's Jet the Defender, but he will punch you right in square in the face.
So anyways, we went through the appointments, we went through the classes, and the midwives had come. They had set up. We decided she had kind of been apprehensive to do a water birth because she's like, oh, it's all gross and icky. Yeah, but what they basically did is they brought a pool, they filled it up with warm water, and
it was so relaxing that they were like, if you want to have this baby, you got to get out the pool because you're too relaxed. So I'm and they showed up, and I was like, this is taking too long. I'm gonna walk around the block. So he went on a walk with me in the middle of the night. We're just I'm basically jogging because I have I'm ready to go. Let's get this baby out. I'm miserable. Let's do it. I want to hold him and kiss him and cuddle him. And then so we get back to the house, and I get in the tub, and they're like, get out of the tub. Your body's too relaxed. Yeah. So I was like, can you guys take a hike? It's not happening.
Do y'all want to just leave, go get some rest, go get some food, whatever?
So they did. They went and got some coffee and some breakfast burritos, and then I was like, okay, this is really happening. So they had a snack, they came back, and then I got back into the tub, and boom. He was born in 4 minutes and 24 seconds, and his birth date is April 24th. He was just full of 4s.
Yeah.
And I don't do numerology. I'm not about it. I don't care if you want to explain.
But it was crazy. He was born on 4/24 at 4/24, and it was she literally. We learned so much from that one because honestly, the midwives, the information that they gave us. And even the information they didn't give us and kind of made us learn it ourselves was so valuable. So she gets in and she's almost waiting for them to do something. And she's like, are y'all not exactly verbatim, but she was like, are y'all going to help me? And she's like, nah, girl, you got it.
Yeah, she was like, your body was made to do this, push. And
so she starts pushing, and she literally grabs the baby and pulls the baby out of the water. and
And it was
and
so
then
wonderful.
yep, and then the placenta came and it floated up. And so this is obviously unlike our first one. They grabbed the placenta, they put it in like a Tupperware. They grabbed the baby and they
Birth is graphic.
yeah, and they set the baby down and they're checking and doing measurements and all that stuff. And so she, like, this is one of her favorite things about the situation, because remember the first one, after the birth we had to drive home and it was super painful for her, and then we went and had a birth, and then we had to go right back home. We had to drive an hour before she could like really rest. Yeah, she was in the car and she could close her eyes and she could sleep, but it's not the same thing as laying in your bed. Well, with this one, she literally got up, went into the shower, had a shower, and I think it was a bath actually, or both. And then you got out of the bath, you got on your robe, you laid down, and they brought the baby to her to feed. And and
wonderful.
yeah, and so they brought the baby, and there was also the placenta. And one thing that I didn't had told you before, when I was on that guy, he was like, "Okay, well, you need to cut you need to cut the umbilical cord." And I was like, "I don't have anything to cut it." And he's like, "Well, do you have a shoelace?" And I was like, "Yeah." So I took the shoelace off and I tied it around tight and cinched. So don't do that. And I'll explain that. And I'll explain that. Well, not just dirty, but not good for the child. So I'll explain that. So she's laying down, the baby comes, and the Tupperware with the placenta that's still attached to the baby, they haven't cut it off yet. They bring her in, and I'm just sitting there, obviously it's kind of weird looking, it's kind of gross, but I'm sitting there looking at the placenta, guys, and it's so beautiful. Looking back, it's so beautiful. You had all these vessels and blood and all this, all the liquids and nutrients in there, and you could literally see it pumping and going up the umbilical cord into the child. And another thing is, like, when you see in movies when babies come out, they have all that stuff on their face, right? Well, I was waiting for them to like wipe it off, right? Because we've all seen that in the movies. They wipe that stuff off. And I said, "Hey, are y'all gonna wipe that stuff off their face?" And they're like, "Oh, you can if you want to." And I was like, "What? I can if I want to?" And so a little bit of time goes by. A little time goes by, and all that stuff is gone. And I was like, "Where did all that stuff go? Did y'all wipe her? Or did y'all wipe him?" And they were like, "No." I'm like, "Where did it go?" And they're like, "Guy, that just absorbs into their skin. You're not supposed to wipe it off. You can, but if you just leave it there, all of that stuff will absorb into their skin." And sure enough, all of that absorbed in the skin. And back to the placenta, at a certain point, the placenta, there was nothing left in it. It had literally looked cold, and there was nothing. And they were like, "All right, now it's time to cut the umbilical cord." And sure enough, we cut the umbilical cord. No bleeding. It went way better than the previous ones. And so
and then I ate like 900 breakfast burritos.
Yep. And then I went and got a whole bunch of breakfast burritos, and she nom 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 until they were all
wonderful.
gone. Yep. So that one was like, comparatively to our first two, was like a breeze in the park. And so that leads us go ahead.
Shalom Joy. Hi Tyler. Hi Stacy. Was there? Oh, Robert. Hi Robert.
You want
Glad
to say
you guys are
something
with
more?
us. Marsha.
Welcome, sister.
We love you.
You already said Tyler. Welcome, Tyler.
We
Daryl
love
Davis.
Tyler.
Welcome,
Hi,
Daryl. Hope y'all are enjoying our stories. We got one
Oops
more
is
for
here.
you.
I saw you in here. Oops.
Hey, Oops. Hope you're doing well, sister. Mountain
I saw
Mama,
something
you replied to her. TD,
Yeah.
welcome.
TD. Oh, that's who it was. Cool
Stacy,
beans.
awesome.
Thanks
Well,
for
thank
being
you all
here
for
with
being
us.
here.
We have one more.
Yeah, be sure to do the whole like, share, and subscribe. It really does help the channel. Hopefully y'all like this little thing we're doing together as husband and wife, as mother and father. And we want to share these things with you guys, because with the world looking so crazy, with it seemingly, the end is right around the corner, we have a different spirit about that. Like, the Father is giving us these children. These are blessings from the Father. We provided the building materials, but He caused the divide spark. He gave each of our children breath and decided which each one would be for us and in our family and for themselves. And so with that, it's easy to look at the world and say, "No, I don't want to, because of who knows what's around the corner." And it's like, the Father is going to bless you with children, right, guys? There's going to be people who are pregnant or are giving suck in those days. And so everything's going to continue on. And so, just remember, one of the first commandments that the Father gave us was be fruitful and multiply. So, 2 times 2 is 4. That's when you're getting a multiplication. So, like Owen Benjamin says, you're gay until you have 4.
So we had Jet, and he was like, "Oh, okay, well we can do this." Like, yeah, we always wanted 4. Like, but then I had Jet, and I had been pregnant, and then pregnant, and then pregnant. So I was like, hey, let's turn that number 4 into a number 3. Let's take a step back.
Yeah, and literally, if all our children, and not perfectly because of the dates of their birth, but at any given time, they are either odds or even. So they're either 2, 4, 6, 8, or 1, 3, 5, 7, and they'll be like that our whole lives. So, like as she's saying, for it was only 9 months into our marriage that we found out that she was pregnant, and then for the next
all of my 20s.
6 years, right? For the next 6+ years,
I was pregnant. Or
you were pregnant, and so at Jet, we were kind of like, yeah, let's maybe take a step back. We're not saying we're not going to, but let's maybe give us some time to kind of get some sleep and get over the baby phase. And so, in no way, shape, or form were we like we're doing a 4. Yeah. And so, I'll let you take it kind of from here.
And then,
I'll be back in 1 second. I gotta get some water.
Okay. And then. And I'm going to be totally transparent about this, because there are definitely women out there who, like, not every pregnancy is easy, and I think that our stories give you such a vast and wide encompassing of what you can go through. And so when we found out that, I thought, oh my gosh, I'm pregnant again, and I was like, Zachariah, I better not be pregnant. Like, this is all your fault if I am pregnant right now. And so he was kind of scared. He was scared that I was pregnant again so soon. He was like, she is gonna kill me. But I was in fact pregnant, and of course I knew that, like, we were going to love the business out of this baby, that this baby was a blessing. And I really had to wrap my mind around it, because it wasn't the baby that I didn't want. It was, every time I have a baby, I work to get myself back, my body back. And then you give your body over to growing another human being, and doing that back to back to back is not the easiest for me personally. And so I was like, I want to take a break. I want to have some time before we have this 4th, if we have a 4th. But y'all had other plans. He had other plans for us. So I found out that I was pregnant, and I was struggling with, oh my gosh, I have to give my body over again to grow this baby so soon after our last baby. And so Yah had said to me, he had spoken to me, he said, you're growing my kingdom inside of you. That makes me emotional. But that was really what got me through that pregnancy. He was like, you are going to raise up these children for my kingdom. Like, I am entrusting you to do that as parents, and you're gonna have to, like, get behind that realization and take on that responsibility. And I said, okay, we're doing this. Like, I had an attitude change. However, then my husband comes in, and he makes promises that no man should make to his wife.
I'll just say this. In our relationship, and we've kind of shared this before, one of the major factors in us, like, continuing on and keeping to endure was a dream that I had early within our relationship. And so dreams in my life in particular have always had this meaning. And I had this dream where she was pregnant, and we knew that it was going to be a redheaded little girl. And I really, like, she says no more, but I would love to give her
a little mini me,
because
he would never. We would have 12, just like Mount Mama. We would have all the babies if it were up to him. Bless his heart. You don't have to grow them.
So, all I have to be there is for moral support, guys. That's why we can't have more.
He's got to go out, get my cravings, but that's really as hard as it is for him.
So yeah, I had really believed that, and even when we had first, like, started dating and started talking about having children, I had always imagined having the oldest, because me and my sister growing up had a really close relationship. And so I felt like I learned a lot from her being my older sister. So I loved the fact that it was older sister and then brother. And then I thought there was going to be a little girl, and that little girl was going to be what the older sister could have, like that little beautiful little sister, and then the boys would learn from the oldest sister, but they would also protect the younger sister. So I had this whole idea that, backed up by my dream, I really honestly believed that we were going to have a girl.
So
we didn't.
Spoiler alert, Valor is not a girl.
So over here, if you look at the one that I'm holding, that is Valor, and we're gonna share some pictures with y'all at the end of our family photos. But that's our little baby boy.
So from the time that we had got pregnant with Jocelyn, I wanted to name. Okay, I'm a sucker for Robin Hood, the one with what's his name, the actor.
Kevin Costner.
No, not that one.
Oh,
that one is
Russell
dark
Crowe.
and evil. Russell Crowe. That Robin Hood, and he's Robert of Locksley, and I'm Irish and he's Scottish, and so I just thought that was beautiful. Locksley was beautiful, and from the time that we had Jocelyn, I wanted Locksley. He was like, that's a stripper's name, and I was like, no, it's not. So this time around, I was like, surely.
I 100% agreed. I was like,
yes.
I was like, if it's a girl,
you get whatever you want.
You can name her whatever you want.
He was like, you can do all the picking for this girl's name. I was like already like getting my custom little hair bows ordered for her. He was like, she's gonna have red hair. We'll name her Locksley.
Elizabeth.
After myself. Francesca Elizabeth, Locksley Elizabeth. And so I had like built up this idea in my mind that yes, we're gonna have a girl, she's gonna have red hair, this is gonna be the name I always wanted her to have, and I love the name Jocelyn Voss. I would not do it any differently. I'm so glad that we agreed on that name.
Mm-hmm.
But I did really want Locksley, and so it was during the time of the beer bug.
Oh, okay.
So I was pregnant during the time of the beer bug. So they weren't allowing at that time husbands to go in with you. So I had to go by myself.
Because we did do the midwives, but we still went to the hospital for the appointments to check on her levels. Yep, to check on her levels, on her blood, and all that stuff that the midwife doesn't do.
Yes, so insurance pays for you to find out the sex of your baby. And so that was this, I think... I only went in that one time to the hospital, and then I just saw the midwife. So I was like, I'm going to go get this done because it's paid for. Because with the second midwife that we did, if you know, they basically trust you to they say, hey, if you know what you're doing, you can be a late admission and we'll cut your cost in half. Mm-hmm. So I didn't really have a midwife for Valor in my first trimester. Yeah. Because I was just, I knew what to expect. I was a professional at this point. And so I did go to the hospital for that to find out the gender of the baby. And I was sure I was going to find out what I already knew. Like, this was just a formality, just like get that little creepy picture sonogram to share with the family. And so I went in all by my lonesome, and they were like, boop, 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 it's a boy. And I said, check it again. No, it isn't. It's a girl.
Here it is. Here's the boy.
I literally was like, check it again. And she was like, honey, she blew it up. She goes, there is no mistaking this. That is a boy. And I was like, okay. And she was like, oh my gosh, are you going to be okay? And I was like, I'm okay. I'm fine. And then on the way home, I am crying. And not because he's going to be this beautiful, amazing little boy. I had to mourn the idea of having a daughter. Not mourning like, oh, I'm having a boy. Because of my flesh, I had built up that idea in my head that this was going to be a girl, and I had to accept the loss of an idea. Mm-hmm. And so, I called him, and I was like, just so you know, it's a boy. And then I had stopped at the grocery store, like I had prayed, done some soul searching, stopped at the grocery store on the way home. I had bought blue balloons for the children so that when I walked through the door, they would know that we were in fact having. And my daughter was like, Mommy, she can share a room with me.
She can share my bows with her.
Yeah, we've got a lot of bows because I only have the one girl, okay? And so I walk in with the blue balloons, and Zach is just like, it's gonna be okay. This is gonna be great. We're gonna love him. And I was like, I know that. I know we're gonna love him. I know he's gonna be healthy and beautiful and wonderful. But so, and then that's, yeah.
So
I didn't even bother. We didn't bother with like a gender reveal for him. I was just like, I'm gonna go find out, because they wouldn't let people go with you. We couldn't.
Yeah.
So it wasn't that we love Valor less. We just, the world wasn't letting us do it how we usually did.
Yeah, and so with Valor.
Hi, Johnny. Hi, Wendy. Hi, somebody from Scotland. That's cool.
So with the pregnancy, with the delivery, it was a little different than Jet's. It was a little more convoluted. Basically, the issue with Valor was that we didn't have enough time. They didn't have enough time to set up the tub like they had done previously with Jet. So they
she was not happy with me, by the way. When I called her and I was like, hey, I think I'm having a baby. And I knew about the contraction timer. And she was like, Francesca, how far apart with you? And I was like, or how far apart are your contractions? And I was like, oh, like 2.5 minutes. And she nearly lost her temper on me. And I was like, but I'm not in that much pain. She was like, have you not learned your body yet? You're going to shoot this. I'm on my way. Hangs up. Within 15 minutes, she's at the house, and she says, get in the tub. And I was like, no, I want to do this in the pool. And she's like, sister, you do not have the time. We don't have time to set up the pool and fill it with water. You are having a baby. And I said, okay. And so I get in our tub. Our tub is not like a jacuzzi tub, you guys. This house was built in 78.
Yeah.
It's just an old porcelain tub.
Yeah.
All right? So, and I was like, I can't do this. It's too small. She was like, you have no idea
other choice. You have
what you're capable of.
Yeah.
This is happening. And I was like, okay. So my loving husband comes into the bathroom and he's like, I'm here. And I was like,
get out!
This is disgusting. I don't want you in here. You just make me mad. And so he was like, thought he was being supportive, so he leaves. And I have a baby. And I remember crouching in my tiny bathtub going, I can't do this. And she's like, you're literally doing it.
You're doing it right now.
And I was like, okay. So we did have a scare with Valor. So he wasn't there when I had Valor, because I had bitten his head off. And I said, get out. So he was doing the respectful, loving thing, and he left. So he's got his headphones on like he does. And Valor comes out, and they're like, he's not breathing. So the umbilical cord had wrapped around his neck, and it wasn't like life-threatening. That does happen for babies where it's life-threatening. This didn't seem to be that way. My midwives the midwife that we got, she won an award for being the #1 midwife in the state.
Yeah, because she's so chill, even through the kind of craziness. She was like that.
So maybe I didn't know how serious it was because she handled it so professionally. And she had to give Valor CPR 3 times before he had started breathing
on his own.
And then at that point, when I realized what was going on, I started yelling for Zachariah, and he had his headphones on, so he didn't hear me. So he didn't come back. He had no idea. He was just like, they got his attention. Like, they wouldn't leave me either. I was like, please go get my husband. Please go get my husband. And they were like, we don't leave you and the baby. This is our priority. This is where we're staying. And so they didn't go get him until Valor was breathing on his own, and he was happy, and he was healthy, and he was good to go. So he didn't have to experience, praise Yah, he didn't have to experience.
I would honestly probably had a meltdown if
you would not have been helpful
in the situation. Yeah, no.
So y'all knew what he was doing.
Yeah.
I bit your head off for a reason.
Yeah.
Y'all was using me to get you out of the room.
And so kind of a cool thing with Valor, I guess this cool thing is we could not agree on the name.
No.
We got the log, like Valor, okay, for sure. But we were talking about, she wanted Fitzgerald, I wanted Montgomery.
No, you wanted Nathaniel and I wanted Montgomery.
Oh yeah, I wanted Nathaniel. I wanted it to be Valor Nathaniel Jones.
And I wanted
it to be Valor Montgomery Jones.
Because it was so southern.
And then, but we both like Fitz. But I was like, babe, we can't do Fitz because Fitzgerald means of Gerald. It's like saying Valor of Gerald, of son of John. And so we shortened Fitz to just basically, which is
because
of.
we couldn't decide.
Yeah, oh, that's really cool. So
Yeah.
we literally put Montgomery, Nathaniel, Fitz, and like think there was five total.
I think there were 4. I think there was one other one.
Okay, and we basically put those names into a basket.
Well,
we had our family. Sorry, we had our family vote on it, and for each vote that they voted, we put one of those names. So if someone voted 4 times for Fitz, we'd put 4 Fitz in there, and so on and so forth. Well, I'll let you continue.
So we had all the names in the hat. We did the drawing, and lo and behold, Fitz came out. That's literally how we were on our 4th
And I
baby.
think there
okay,
was,
we're being lazy at this point.
and I think there was like that was the least amount in there. There was like 5 Montgomerys. There
Your
was
sister
like
voted for Fitz. Jaylee voted for Fitz. Like all of the birth outs, they're a family of 6 as well. And
they didn't all. But I
Most
literally
of them
no.
had
I
voted for
literally
Fitz.
remember Fitz being the least one and the one that was picked because I
He
remembered
remembers
that.
wrong.
No, I don't. She remembers wrong. I have the power of recall. She doesn't. But I can't find my keys. She can. Explain that to me. I don't know, but that's how it works. So yeah, that's the story of our 4 births. Each of those its own unique adventure with their own, obstacles, their own sweet victories. Obviously, we have 4 beautiful children, and so they're all victories. I did want to kind of talk a little bit because between Valor, Jet and Valor, we thought we you were pregnant. You remember that?
Yeah. And I was like, if I'm pregnant, Zachariah.
And so there was it was kind of interesting because she was very angry at that time about it, and understandably so. But we ended up miscarrying. So I guess there is another.
That was between Jocelyn and Zevret.
Oh, okay, that's what it was.
And I didn't know we were going to talk about that on Live Air.
Well, I know, but I just want to say out to the women that we gave you 4 stories, and even though they're crazy, right? We have 4 children, but that isn't without heartache along the way, guys.
Mm-hmm.
We thought, like, even though it was a surprise, that was another idea where an idea was gone from our head.
Part of the reason why I was so enthusiastic about having Zevric was
because
of that.
Yeah.
I had lost that baby.
Yeah. And so I wanted to bring that up because, like, we talked about these tales, and it's like, oh, y'all all went through it with no with no scars, and it's like, no, we didn't, guys. It's not as always as easy as it seems. So just know that even if there are obstacles in your way, like, God wants you, the Father wants to bless you with these children. He wants to fill men. He wants to fill your quiver with arrows. And women, he wants you to laugh at the troubles that are to come your way, and so we hope y'all enjoyed these stories, and you're able to laugh with us and maybe kind of choke up a little bit on those parts, and hopefully y'all got something for it. I am going to. You have your phone. Do you want to send those real quick?
Do you want the video? You can play the video.
Oh yeah, let's do that. We'll play the video instead. Give me a second. I'm going to pull that video up. She's going to send it to me, and then I'm going to grab it. So let's do screen capture. Okay, so I'm going to hide this for a second, people.
I'm not as tech savvy as my husband, but did we have any technical failures?
No.
I'm good luck.
All right, so move that real quick. Let's pull this over here.
Do you want me to send it to you
on Discord?
On Discord.
So, yep, here's a little sneak peek at our family photos. Just to go over it again with y'all, we have to the very left, the little boy I'm holding, that's Valor Fitz. That's our baby boy. The next one that I'm holding his hand, and he's holding his sister's hand, that's Jet Candor Thomas, little bulldozer. Then the little beautiful girl in the orange dress, that's Jocelyn Voss. She is, we call her our angel because she surely is.
She
And then
is.
last but not least is our oldest son, the one in the glasses and the green makeup. That's Zevrick Evan. Um,
Makeup?
in the green get up.
Oh,
Sorry.
get up.
Yeah.
I was like, he's not. We
Okay,
don't.
did you send it, babe?
Uh huh.
Okay, let's pull that up for you guys. And hopefully y'all will enjoy this. I'll probably have to go back and delete or change the song because I know we had a problem with that. I don't know if. Okay, I'm gonna have to put my headphones on for you guys so I can hear whether y'all are hearing this or not. And let's pull this up. This back. Okay, let's see if I can do a screen share now. Can. Not that one. I need to do this one. All right. Here you go, guys. Here is a little sneak peek into our family photos. So hopefully y'all enjoy this. Oh, it's not playing song. One second, guys.
Oh, I shouldn't have spoke about the technical difficulties.
Let's try it one more time. Okay, there we go. Yeah, I'm definitely going to have to go edit this out, but I'll share it with you guys. But here you go. Here's a little video that my wife put together of our family photos. I'm gonna go back. Oh, I'm not gonna play the song again, but just gonna go through it a little bit. So again, we got Jocelyn, Zevrick, Jet, and Valor. And one thing for those who have children, they come from the same parents, they're raised in the same household, but man, are they different, and so beautiful and unique in their own ways. And the relationships not only that they have with us, but that they have with each one of their siblings, and you know, it's pretty emotionally looking at these for me. You know, thinking about the fact that this like all started from two kids who fell in love. And guys, we had our struggles. We've definitely had our ups and downs.
We're perfect.
But all of that for such a big blessing, for such beautiful arrows in my quiver. I can never thank the Father enough. He perfectly fulfilled my request in giving me a beautiful wife and beautiful children. And for you fellas out there, man, I know it seems like it's a hard world right now in defining your significant other, but focus on the Father and let Him know your true desires. And I can say without a doubt that He surely will fulfill those and bring more blessings into your life than you could actually ever hope for, guys. So once again, from me and the missus, we thank you. We thank y'all so much for joining us and taking this ride with us. And of course, we appreciate all the people that came and joined us along the way in this conversation in the chat. It's on another window. That's what I'm doing. And so we're just so thankful. Oh, let me turn this one off. Sorry, guys. Getting a little crazy. So we're so thankful for y'all to join us. And next week, I'm gonna work on it as soon as we get the get done with the stream. We are going to be having Sean Griffin from Kingdom in Context joining us for a special guest episode. We will be talking about the KIC Kingdom in Context virtual conference that they held. And kind of learn more about that, their plans for the future. We're also going to take a dive into the days of Noah and talk about the progress they're making there, get some updates, and maybe look at some of the other things he's working on, Lighthouse and but also we'd love to learn, like we kind of shared with y'all today, a little bit more about their experience with their pregnancy, how our dear sister Lindsay is doing, and how our new baby brother Levi is doing. So keep them in your prayers for healthy continuance, and yeah, awesome. Love you so much, guys, and until next time, remember that Abba loved you first.
Hi, Elohim's Medicine. Hi, Eternal Light. Thank you for being with us. We love you. Thanks for fellowshipping with us today. We appreciate you all for being here and hanging out with us, and hanging out with us weekly during the regular stream. I do love hanging out with you guys in the live chat.
Yep, and the after show. The last night was great. So, again, thank you guys. Have a great day. A great week coming up. Until next time, remember, Allah loved you first. Bye-bye.
It's like a water, I'm learning every day. I can't explain